Hello, I'm Brad Miller, and I'm the Undergraduate Coordinator with the Agronomy Department. And today I'm with one of our undergraduate students, Leslie Freehill. So Leslie, tell us, what made you first interested in agronomy?
Well, I grew up in a small farming town, but my parents don't farm. I'm not from a farming family, so my true interest started when I had an internship running the farmers market in a nearby city. And I saw the application internationally and the need for agronomists and the importance of it. And so that's why I chose agronomy as my major.
I understand you're involved with one of the research projects here on campus. What research project is that?
I work for Dr. Elmore and Lori Ebendroff, which are corn specialists for the extension, and they're studying different management practices for corn producers.
So has it added to your educational experience?
Yes, it has very much. I realize every day how much I'm learning from my job as well as my classes. But really, when you have experience and you're seeing firsthand the things that you're learning in class, I think that's the most valuable experience you can have.
Okay, so this research project, why do you think doing this kind of research is important?
I think that we're studying very, very basic things, basic decisions that farmers are making. We're studying different row spacing, different plant spacing. We're studying all that, and those are the decisions that farmers are making, that corn producers are making every day. And so when I see my research, being presented to a group of farmers, and they're taking that information and making their decisions, I think that that's why it's important.
So we recently stopped out and taped some of the process of you doing this research. Mind giving us a tour?
Sure.
Right here, a graduate student, Marcos, from Brazil, and I are processing some of the corn after harvest. These samples right here are still on the cob. They were harvested one at a time by hand, and so right now we're using hand shellers to take the kernels off of the cob, and we are keeping each cob separate because we will end up counting the kernels and taking weights of each cob individually.
You guys are pretty quick with that device there. What's the metal thing that you're holding in your left hand?
We just call it a hand sheller. You just have to turn the corn in it, and it takes it right off. Usually, if we were doing whole plots at a time, the combine would do that, but since in this particular study, we want to look at how many kernels were on each cob, and then the weight of those kernels. That's why we have to do this all by hand. And these samples are coming in from all over the state, from the different research farms across Iowa, and so that's why we're doing them one at a time. It's pretty important to make sure that we're sorting correctly and keeping everything together. We're going to dry these down afterwards so that the moisture content is even for all of the trials, so that when we take data, we'll be able to compare weights and things like that. Each bag will have a tag. It will say the farm that it came from, the date that it was harvested, the trial that it's from, and the plot number. Each trial that we run, they repeat it about 4 times each, and so we have to keep track of which repetition it's from, which plot, which farm. And so the yellow tags are very, very important to have in each bag to be sure that we know exactly where everything came from. I don't really have an exact number of how many samples that we process, but it's a lot. So I think that with this job, I'm seeing a behind-the-scenes kind of where the information is coming from. When we do field days to educate farmers on their decisions, I'm seeing, from when this corn was planted, the corn that I'm shelling right now, when it was planted, I was counting the days till it emerged. I was measuring how tall it was after 2 weeks, when it was just a couple inches. And then all the way through now when it's harvested, and then I'm weighing the kernels and, taking the moisture and everything. And so I think that it's neat to see the entire process and how we're coming up with these results, to say, a certain row spacing is superior to another, to see where all the data is coming from. So that's why I really enjoy my job. I think that working for the agronomy department has really benefited me just as much as my classes. I feel like there are things that I pick up all the time that I wouldn't have probably learned sitting in a lecture hall. And so I really feel like my job has benefited me a lot, and as far as my major is concerned too. I feel like that's really important, that to have experience before you would graduate with a degree.
Do you see some benefits to be able to work with people from other countries?
I do. I even live with 3 girls from 3 different countries, so I really enjoy it, especially with Marcos being from Brazil. Right now, a lot of farmers you hear about are buying land in Brazil, and lots of development of farmland in Brazil. So I think that I get much more of a perspective. I think if I only had a U.S. perspective, I would only think of just the corn and soybeans that I've known my whole life. But really to look at, their different weather conditions or their different soils and things like that really give you a much broader perspective. So I really, really enjoy it. I think it's adding a lot to what I'm learning.